But first, I want to try and help you to understand a little bit more about the meditational deities, the holy enlightened ones, the deities, these different names that we use for these practices that we do. So we've said many times that we have this true nature, and this true nature is like this indestructible diamond that is in our heart center. And this diamond is made up of bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And this diamond, within this diamond are all the enlightened ones, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas are all in this diamond. And this diamond has many, many, many different facets to it. And the facets represent each one of those different Buddhas, those Bodhisattvas, those holy enlightened ones, those deities. Each one of those facets is each one of those deities. Each one of those deities is made up of bodhicitta. They all come from the same diamond. So each one of the facets has a name, and that's the name of the deity, the enlightened one, etc. The difference between the deities, the difference between these enlightened ones, is their activities, the way in which they are actualizing the bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So we can think of this as ourselves, as ordinary human beings. And we have many jobs that we do around the house, for our work, for our recreation, and so on. And sometimes I'm just going to use some names, but sometimes we're like Cindy, the cook. And sometimes we're like George, the gardener. Sometimes we're like Charles, the cleaner. And sometimes we're like Paul, the plumber. And sometimes we're like Alice, the accountant. Or sometimes we're like Carl, the counselor. So we have all these different jobs that we do as a human being. So we still look the same. We still appear to be the same, but we're doing all these different things. And maybe for each one of these different things that we're doing, we put on different clothes. When we're the cook, we wear an apron. When we're a cleaner, maybe we wear some special garment that we don't get dusty ourselves and so on like that. When we're a plumber, we put on, some heavy duty clothes and we have our tools and so on, so we don't dirty our clothes and nick things up. We have special clothes that we wear when we do the plumbing. When we're the accountant, we put on a suit. We go to the office and we look professional and so on. And the same when we're a counselor. Maybe we put on some kind of a suit or some kind of special, respectful clothing that we go to the medical office building where we work with other doctors and professionals and so on. Through all this, we're the same person. We still have the same human qualities that we have and so on, but we're doing all these different jobs. And many people may only know us in a particular role, in a particular job that we do. Our patients are only going to know us as the counselor. Our clients are only going to know us as the accountant. Our people that come to the house and see how clean the house is are only going to know us as the person that takes care of the garden and cleans the house, and so on like that. So we have these many different roles. We're the same person doing all these different things. So this is a metaphor for the meditational deities. The meditational deities are all within our heart center. All within our heart center. And we access these meditational deities through the meditation. That's where we come to recognize these deities. We can do it intellectually and learn about them, but that's a vicarious experience. We're not really being those deities. when we are doing these things in our ordinary life, we're actually being the cook, we're actually being the cleaner, and so on like that. So it's much easier for us to make associations with them. But in the case of our meditational deities, we have to really meditate to get to recognize these deities. So we've already talked about several of these deities. We talked about Manjushri, who is the bodhisattva of wisdom. And not just the wisdom, the intellectual wisdom, but also the spiritual wisdom, the heart thoughts, the experience of meditation and knowing that. So that's Manjushri. And we talked about Shenrezig. Shenrezig is the bodhisattva of compassion, how to take that wisdom and how to actualize that wisdom for the benefit of other beings. So that was Shenrezig. And then we talked about Green Tara, the mother of all the Buddhas. And she herself is a Buddha. So she is the mother of all the Buddhas. And she is the protection. She is the fearlessness. She represents that protection. The fearlessness as a mother would protect us in our ordinary lives and so on. So, and then today we're going to talk about Vajrasattva, who is the purifier, the confession Buddha, the Buddha of confession, the Buddha of purification. So we're going to get to that. So if you look at all these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all these holy enlightened ones, they all have the same appearance in terms of the anthropomorphic, way in which they're illustrated. They look like human beings, but they're human beings in the respect that they're within us. But they are spiritual beings that are within us. So when we give up our body, when we die, we lose our physical body, we lose our intellectual mind. And likewise, we would lose the physical qualities, the metaphors, the symbols, the illustrations of these meditational deities. But the spiritual aspect of these meditational deities would remain. They still remain. And they're like light. They're like light that is indestructible, does not go anywhere. The heart, this is the indestructible diamond. So what this means is that when we die, it does not die. It's indestructible. So this is within us. And this is where these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, these holy enlightened beings are. So they all have the quality of being like the Buddha. All these have bodhicitta. All these have the holy enlightened mind within them. This is the intellectual mind. This is the center of the holy enlightened mind. So the commonality is the bodhicitta, and it's all for us to be able to recognize all of this with our mind, because it is our mind, our little mind, and our big mind that we experience everything. So we can say our little mind is apprehending, is seeing, is feeling, is smelling, is tasting, is hearing, all the appearances of all this phenomenal nature, this stuff around us that we're all familiar with, our bodies, our homes, nature outside, and so on like that. We're all apprehending that and processing that with our little mind. But at the same time, we have our spiritual mind, which is seeing this as all temporary, is recognizing that all this is just phenomenal. All this is just all relative to one thing or another. So when we meditate, we transcend this ordinary mind and elevate ourselves to this transcendent mind this heart mind. And this heart mind is what is now perceiving this all in a complete light, in a complete way. Everything becomes clear. Everything becomes clear to us. So we call it the clear light of recognition, recognizing all of this. So we have these deities within us, these holy enlightened ones, and this is what we're trying to do, is to be able to, just like we sometimes are the plumber, sometimes we are the gardener, sometimes we are the accountant, sometimes we're the counselor, all the different things that we do with our intellectual mind and our ordinary physical body that we do. Now we're doing those things spiritually as the wise student, the wise person like Manjushri. We're doing it like Shenrezi, to have compassion for the suffering of beings, to have the ability to be able to protect through fearlessness. We're able to do that. And we're able to purify ourselves through our confession, which is what we're going to learn about today. So, but it's all the same entity, if you will, is the same Buddha. It's different ways in which the Buddha is actualizing, and we are the Buddha. So we're learning all these different ways in which we do these different spiritual things. Just like as being a human being, we're doing all these mundane things, we're doing all these spiritual things too. So this is why we do the sadhana practices. Sadhana, S-A-D-H-A-N-A. That's what these practices are called, sadhanas, and it means practice. Sadhana is a Sanskrit word that means practice. And we're doing these practices in order that we begin to recognize these spiritual aspects in which our conduct is coming out. We're allowing this to happen. And then we become not just the plumber and the cook and so on like that, but we become the Buddha who is a cook, the Buddha who is a plumber, the Buddha who is an accountant, and so on. So we're bringing the physical body together with the intellectual body, together with the spiritual body. And this is what allows us to recognize ourselves as a precious human being. So when we talk about the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma, the first one is a precious human being that recognizes these 3 bodies, the physical, the intellectual, and the spiritual.